What's going on, Guardians? Welcome back to another Planet Destiny Garden of Salvation raid guide. My name is Sly from SlyNation here on YouTube, and in this video we're going to be taking a look at the second encounter found within Destiny 2's latest raid, the Garden of Salvation. Now, the second and third encounters take place back-to-back within the exact same area, and I originally intended to squeeze both of them into one video. However, it ended up becoming way too long, and there wasn't enough detail covering all aspects of the encounter, at least not enough for my liking. So I decided to split it up, make one smaller guide for this first encounter, and then the longer one for the next one, the first real boss fight of the raid, the Consecrated Mind, which of course is part 3. So within this video here, guys, we're going to be taking a look at team composition, weapons, the map itself, how to arrange one another, and how this encounter will work. Now that the raid has been out for a few weeks, there are already various ways to complete these encounters, from the start all the way to the end. But I believe that if you learn how to do these things the right way, no matter what happens or what changes in the future, you will always know what to do and how to get past every single encounter. Once you know how these encounters work as a whole, feel free to adopt more advanced strategies or shortcuts for as long as they're viable. Okay, so this encounter starts immediately after the first jumping puzzle within the raid. The Consecrated Mind has locked itself in the middle of this arena, and you are here to root it out. So starting with team composition, this first phase is really all about clearing adds. Angelicas will spawn once again, so if you're a Titan, feel free to make use of Peregrine Greaves, Striker, or Hammers. For hunters out there, Tether or Arcstrider, and Warlocks, Nova Bomb, Tickle Fingers with Crown of Tempest, or Dawnblade, they all work really well for clearing adds. I personally found Dawnblade and Voidwalker to be especially handy. As far as weapons go, once again, it's really all about clearing adds here, so it's nothing specific, but there will be void-shielded Minotaurs making runs at you, as well as those Yellow Bar Angelica. So I found good old hand cannons like Better Devils or Austringer, paired with the Retold Tail with auto-loading holster and Rampage, and also a grenade launcher. That worked very, very well, and it could handle just about anything and everything. However, Recluse could also be just as effective. Now, you will be using Whisper and Izanagi's for the next encounter, so feel free to use those as well. So now let's go ahead and talk about the area and the map, and then we'll set things into motion after that. So as you arrive from the jumping puzzle, you're going to see a Vex totem right in front of you. Also notice the tether box in the distance and the lock on top of the totem. This map is basically a diamond, and at every corner of this diamond, you're going to find a Vex totem. These totems will play a part in every encounter from here on out. Going in a counterclockwise rotation, we will label these totems. This one here, starting totem is 1. At the end of the long corridor to your right is totem 2, then totem 3 right in front of you. To the far left hand side we have totem 4. When activated, these totems will be places of sacrifice for the Vex, similar to the public events where they sacrifice themselves on Nessus. You can have one sacrifice and still be okay, but if 2 sacrifice at the same time, it's a team wipe. However, these adds will feature a white shield around them that is impenetrable. They are completely immune to damage unless you have the necessary buff to take it out. If you played vanilla D2 mission on Nessus where you had to fight that Minotaur next to Cade's crashed ship, you couldn't take out its shield until you stepped into that well of light, which gave you a buff, which then allowed you to open up the shield to be able to kill it. Well, the same principle applies here. To get this buff, you need to use the tether. Once again, to activate the tether box, all you have to do is shoot it and then stand in a line. Whoever is connected to the tether chain, which will then link to the totem, you will gain a buff called Enlightenment. Now, this allows you to crack those immune shields and take out the Vex. Also, just like the last encounter, Angelicas will block you by putting up barriers around those tether boxes so you cannot use them. Every time you see Angelica, make sure you take it out so you can use the tether. And the last thing to take note of here, guys, is once again, there will be specialized enemies trying to stop your progress. This time around, they are barrier champions, so be sure to have anti-barrier rounds on and equipped. There will also be regular adds along with Angelicas waiting for you at each totem. So the idea is this, guys. You need to run as a team counterclockwise around the map, dropping one player off at each totem to protect it. So basically, 4 players will need to assign themselves a totem to hold. Number 1 will be without help for the longest. Now, it's not necessarily the hardest job, but you do have to be quick. Keep rotating around the map, dropping off one player at each totem until all 4 totems are protected. Since there are 6 of you, that means 2 players will become floaters. Once a totem becomes active, which happens as soon as an Angelica is destroyed, portals will appear in the direction the team is heading. These portals are shortcuts used by the first couple of totem holders and floaters. For example, here at totem number 1, where we start off at, the portal to my right will take me to portal number 2. The portal to my left will take me to totem 4. Now this encounter really is not difficult in terms of enemies. It's just juggling the buff around so that every player protecting the totem never runs out. If you do run out, you cannot crack the shield, which means the Vex will sacrifice and then it's a wipe. However, once you start rotating, you do need to be quick. If you take too long clearing out adds and activating the next totem, the immune shielded Vex will spawn in, and without a buff to crack the shields, that'll become a wipe. So that means it's best to have a good number of people helping with activating the totems running around as a team. Basically that means floaters will not be in place until the very end. Also note that you cannot tether yourself. It takes 2 people to make a tether chain to refresh your buff, and this is where the challenge comes in. Now my method for dealing with this is pretty simple, guys. Totem holders 1, 2, and 3 will need to coordinate with each other in the very beginning. With each person holding a totem, that means the portals will be active. So while the team is running around, totem holders 1 and 2 need to meet up at totem 2 to refresh their buff. Once it's refreshed, number 1 is going to head back to their assigned area. Once totem 3 is activated and one player stays behind to protect it, they take out the adds, and once everything is cleared from all sides, regardless of how much time you have left on your buff, coordinate with totem holders 1 and 2, and all 3 of you will meet up at totem 2. This will then refresh everyone's buff, and then it's immediately back to your assigned area. Now if you're quick, there's actually quite a long time in between adds spawning. They're going to come from the middle, the left, and right at each area. Once all 3 of those areas are down, this begins a sort of low period. You're going to have 30 seconds or so, plus or minus 10, to meet up at totem 2, refresh your buff, and then head back ready for the next wave. You actually have more time than you think, so don't freak out and rush around too quickly. The thing to remember is that anytime you have a low period, you need to refresh your enlightenment buff. Even if you still have 25 seconds left, don't risk it, head over and re-up. So as the team starts out, everyone helps totem number 1 get rid of the adds and Angelica, and then they go ahead and move on to totem 2. Once number 1 and number 2 is held, number 1 will always go to totem number 2 to activate the tether to refresh their timers. The group continues on in a counterclockwise motion and then clears and activates totem 3. They then drop off a player. Now 1, 2, and 3 need to coordinate and meet up at totem 2. You guys line up, refresh your buff, and now number 1 and 3 back to your own areas. Then the remaining 3 that are left head over to totem 4, clear it out, and you drop off 1 player there as well. Now you have to hold off totem 4. The remaining 2 players that are left now become floaters. Now once this happens, every totem holder needs to stay put. You no longer have to meet up at totem number 2 because now someone can just as easily come to you. There will be a floater between plates 1 and 4 and 2 and 3. Again, there are different ways to approach this encounter, but this way worked extremely well for me in contest mode, and it works just as well in normal mode. Once you get the timing down, you can get through this encounter well under 10 minutes. So now that you have each totem protected, and there are 2 floaters helping out totems 1 and 4 and 2 and 3, you need to hold the line for a couple of minutes or so, and this will make Angelica very, very angry, and she's about to bring the heat. 1 totem at a time will get bombarded with shielded adds and 3 angelic hydras at once. This is where a super really comes in handy, or your grenade launcher is also why you want to refresh your buff at every opportune moment, because it could be that you arrive at your totem with only 10 seconds left. And just like the other encounters, when Angelica arrives, she blocks the tether box, making it so that you cannot refresh your enlightenment buff. So be sure to refresh your enlightenment at every opportune moment. When all the totems are held, as soon as you guys see 1 hydra, call it out. Angelic at totem 2, or angelic at totem 1, or whatever totem you happen to be holding. This signals to your floater to give a refresh to the person they're at one last time before heading over to help you. The good thing is that even if your timer runs out, the person who's protecting the original totem, the floater will now have a fresh countdown before coming over to help. So that way they can take out the adds while you focus on Angelica. Now strikers make this look absolutely easy, as does Dawnblade. Golden Gun also clears things up pretty quickly, so only use your supers when rotating as a team, opening up totems to get rid of Angelics and barrier champions, and when you see the 3 angry sisters arrive at your totem. Every totem will have this happen to them. Now the order is completely RNG, so we don't know what totem it'll start at, but be on the lookout. Once you see 1 hydra, you can be sure the other 2 are right behind her. Once all 4 totems have taken out their 3 sisters, 12 hydras in total, the middle barrier will fall down, and now you need to hightail it to the pillar of light right in front of you. It's going to be smack dab in the center of this map. Now remember what this pillar of light looks like, because it's going to come back later. However, now we have to deal with a central totem, which is the Pillar of Light. That will be active, and you have incoming enemies from all sides with immunity shields and angelics. It's sort of like a mini horde mode at this stage of the fight. Take out shields, kill the Vex, kill the angelic, which will then open up the tether box, line up as a team to regain the enlightenment buff, and repeat. That's really about it. Take out a few waves of enemies, and the loot is now yours. Like I mentioned, guys, this encounter is really not hard. The challenge is in the coordination of refreshing each other's timers. But if you use this method of going counterclockwise and having the first 3 totem holders meet up at totem 2, you're going to see just how easy this can be. The good thing about meeting up at the second totem is that the 3 of you will now be synchronized. So when one person is low, the others will be as well. This helps to kind of get a feel of when to start heading over. If you are finished with your spawning ads on totems 1 or 3 and number 2 needs help, you can run over, help take out the last wave so you guys can then refresh the buff more quickly before heading back to your own station. If you have a new raider on your team, plate number 2 is the best place to put them. They don't have to move, they stand there the whole time, and they are first in line when it comes to getting a refresh before you guys head back. If something happens and a totem becomes overwhelmed, have the second floater make it over to help out. Do not leave your area, let the floaters take care of it. But yeah, that's really about it, Guardians. During contest mode, this encounter was actually a complete beast. However, once you get into the swing of things, you're going to be blowing through this with 0 problems. After picking up some loot, now get ready for the first boss fight within the new raid, the Consecrated Mine, which we'll go over next in part 3. But as for me, guys, that is about it, y'all. As always, thank you all so much for watching another Planet Destiny raid guide. Once you guys know the basics of every encounter, that's when the fun really begins. You can start tweaking strategies, trying out different ways of completing things, and eventually finding the perfect way to speedrun right through it. But like I mentioned before, it's best to first learn how the fight is supposed to work and to know what happens from every angle. That way, no matter what changes in the future, you can always fall back on this method and get through it no problem. But I am out of here, Guardians. Thank you all so much for choosing to watch Planet Destiny. And be sure to show your support by hitting that thumbs up and sharing this video with your clanmates, friends, and family. Subscribe for plenty more Shadowkeep secrets, guides, reviews, and videos, as well as part 3 and 4 of our Garden of Salvation raid guides. But until then, this is your dude Sly. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one.